Shadows in Raleigh. Part 1, Cracks in the Silence. The September air in Raleigh carried that heavy, late summer heat, the kind that clung to your skin long after sunset. Daniel Whitaker stood on the porch of his colonial-style home in North Hills, sipping a beer and staring at the rows of quiet houses. It was close to midnight, but his wife, Emily, hadn't returned from what she claimed was a girls' night. It wasn't the first time lately. He tried to dismiss the unease twisting in his gut. Emily was 34, smart, beautiful, and had always been sociable. She worked as a marketing manager for a tech startup downtown, often attending networking mixers and after-hours events. But something about the way she had been dressing recently, the extra care with her makeup, the new dresses that clung a little tighter, didn't feel like Emily anymore. Or maybe it was him. Maybe he was paranoid. His phone buzzed. "On my way. Don't wait up." Daniel frowned at the short text. No emoji, no warmth. Just flat. Detached. He set the beer down, ran a hand across his face, and tried to swallow the gnawing suspicion. Part 2, Shifts in Routine. Over the next weeks, the changes grew sharper. Emily was gone more often, claiming work deadlines or yoga classes she never used to attend. She'd laugh at texts Daniel couldn't see, keep her phone flipped face down, and lock the bathroom door while showering, something she never did before. Daniel noticed it all, quietly cataloging the differences like puzzle pieces he couldn't yet fit together. Their marriage had never been perfect. 10 years together, 7 of them married, and the strain had always been there, long hours at Daniel's job as a project manager for a construction firm, Emily's frustration at putting her career on hold when they first talked about kids they still didn't have. But they'd always managed to push through, finding comfort in routine. Now, that routine was unraveling. Part 3. The First Clue. One evening, Daniel left work early. He drove past Emily's office tower downtown, curious. He spotted her car in the parking deck, which didn't surprise him, until he saw her emerge not with coworkers, but with a man. Tall, sharp suit, maybe mid-30s. Emily's laugh floated across the pavement, brighter and freer than it had sounded in months. Daniel gripped the steering wheel, frozen as they walked side by side toward a sleek black sedan. The man opened the passenger door for her. Daniel's stomach lurched. He didn't follow. Not yet. He drove home, headlights carving the quiet suburban streets, his hands trembling. Part 4, Suspicion Turns to Proof. Over the next 2 weeks, Daniel became a shadow in his own life. He started checking phone records, noticing late-night calls to a number he didn't recognize. He trailed Emily once, carefully, keeping distance as she met the same man at a rooftop bar downtown. The sight of her leaning in close, hand brushing his arm, made Daniel's chest tighten with rage and heartbreak. Her lies piled up, late meetings, traffic jams, dinners with coworkers. He kept every receipt in his mind, waiting until the pile was undeniable. But proof came sooner than he expected. One Saturday morning, Emily claimed she was going for a yoga class. She kissed Daniel's cheek lightly, grabbed her mat, and left. But 20 minutes later, Daniel drove to the boutique studio she mentioned, and found it locked, lights out. He followed her phone's GPS. Something he'd figured out a few nights before, and ended up at a small townhouse complex across town. Emily's car sat in the lot. Daniel parked far away, his heart hammering, and waited. 30 minutes later, Emily appeared, her hair messy, yoga mat still in her trunk, and the man from before beside her, kissing her like they'd done it 100 times. Daniel's world tilted. Part 5, The Breaking Point. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He lay in the dark, Emily beside him, pretending to be lost in dreams. His chest burned with anger, betrayal, and a strange emptiness that made him feel weightless. He thought about confronting her right then, ripping the truth out of her in the darkness. But something held him back. Not fear, strategy. Daniel wasn't the kind of man to explode. He was methodical, steady, patient. He built houses for a living, layer by layer. And now, he would build his revenge the same way. Part 6, The Confrontation. It came 2 weeks later. Emily was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, when Daniel set his beer down hard enough to make her jump. "Who is he?" he asked, voice steady but sharp. Emily's face froze. For a second, she looked like a child caught stealing. Then she tried to recover, her voice smooth. "What are you talking about? Don't lie to me." She swallowed, eyes flicking to the floor. The silence dragged, suffocating. Finally, she whispered, "His name is Ryan." The word cracked Daniel's world open. "How long?" he asked. 6 months. Her voice broke. It wasn't supposed to happen. Daniel stood, chair scraping loud against the floor. His pulse roared in his ears. 6 months, Emily. While I've been here, working, keeping this house, trying to keep us together. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean to fall for him. I felt invisible. You were always busy. Always tired. Her excuses stabbed deeper than the truth itself. Part 7, Revenge in Motion. Daniel didn't throw dishes or scream. He didn't hit walls or beg her to stay. He simply walked out of the kitchen, sat at his desk, and opened his laptop. The next days were a blur of cold precision. He met with a divorce lawyer, explaining everything. He gathered financial documents, secured his accounts, and documented every shred of Emily's affair. Photos. Phone records. Witness statements from a neighbor who had seen Ryan dropping her off. When Emily finally asked, "What are you doing?" Daniel simply said, "Preparing." Her face drained of color. Part 8, The Reveal. A month later, Daniel invited Emily's parents and her younger sister over for dinner. Emily, confused but hopeful, cooked nervously, perhaps thinking it was some kind of reconciliation attempt. After the plates were cleared, Daniel stood and pulled out a folder. "This," he said, dropping it on the table, "is everything Emily's been doing for the last 6 months." Photos spilled across the wood. Emily gasped, her mother's face going pale, her father stiffening in his chair. Emily whispered, "Daniel, please." "No," he cut in sharply. "You don't get to beg. You chose this." The room was heavy with silence, broken only by Emily's sobs. Daniel continued, voice steady. "I'm filing for divorce. I'm keeping the house. And everyone in this room knows exactly why." Part 9, Fallout. The divorce was brutal. Raleigh felt smaller than ever, whispers circling among friends and neighbors. Emily tried to salvage her reputation, but Daniel's careful documentation left her with nothing. Ryan, the man she'd sacrificed everything for, didn't last. Within weeks, he pulled away, unwilling to shoulder the weight of her ruined marriage. Daniel, meanwhile, walked away with dignity intact, though his heart felt hollow. Nights were quieter, emptier. The betrayal lingered like a shadow he couldn't shake. But he had taken control. He hadn't let her rewrite the story. Part 10, The Final Scene. One chilly November evening, Daniel sat once more on his porch, beer in hand, watching the neighborhood lights flicker on. For the first time in months, the air didn't feel suffocating. The silence wasn't heavy. It was his. Emily was gone, her betrayal carved into the past, no longer dictating his present. Daniel exhaled slowly, a man both broken and unbroken, scarred but standing. And Raleigh carried on around him, streets quiet, cicadas humming, life moving forward.